cops were smart enough to separate us during the questioning. Oishi didn't come and talk to me. His aim was Satoshi and nobody else. I got a young cop who just talked about ordinary things. He must have been trying to ease me into the interrogation. When I realized that, the clumsy way he spoke began to frustrate me. Is Satoshi alright? I didn't think Oishi really bought my testimony. He must have been trying to get Satoshi to confess in spite of that. All I could do was pray that he'd keep quiet. The phone on the desk rang, and the cop picked it up. This is Kumagai. What? Alright, I understand. Right away. He hung up and told me somebody had come to retrieve me. It looked like Satoshi had to stay. Were they going to continue the interrogation just because he had no way to pick him up? Although, maybe I should have been worried more about myself. Hackett probably heard about me by now since I revealed my real identity to the police. I couldn't hide any longer. I was going to receive some sort of punishment. I had no idea what she ended up doing to me. The degree of punishment for a traitor is always severe in the world of Sonozakis. Punishment must be carried out. If it's to protect the family's reputation, it's carried out no matter what. Maybe I should kiss my pinky finger while I still can. I asked the younger cop just in case. Hey, did you know that in America, if a condemned criminal gets arrested in a state which has banned capital punishment, they'll refuse to surrender him to the state prosecuting him if that state hasn't banned it? Huh? Maybe it was too difficult for him. He just looked puzzled. Dad's office bowed to me. It's been a long time, Shion. Where's Kasai? Kasai had been helping me since my escape from school. They wouldn't allow him to walk free. How's Sis doing? Does she have something to say about this? We were only told to bring you to the main house. Please ask her when you get there. After saying that, he escorted me into the car. A mat sat on either side of me. Obviously, they didn't want me to escape. Thinking of Satoshi, I looked back to the police station. Hold on tight, Satoshi. I'll grin and bear it too. The car started off roughly. It was never a good occasion when I went to this house. Except when Mio and I were really small, obviously what the Sonozaki family meant for us. I'd only been here when I had to attend boring family councils. The car parked behind the house. Traders aren't allowed through the main gate. I got out of the car and it looked like Sis would be the only person to receive me. I almost spoke to her casually, but her cold gaze froze me before I could. It's been a while, Shion. I never expected to see you other than on New Year's. It gave me the chills to hear her greet me in that cold manner. It's a pleasure to see you again, Mion. I feel overjoyed to have the chance to see you other than on New Year's. I responded, trying to sound likewise. Our leader is deeply upset. I wonder how you'll explain yourself. I have nothing to explain. I had no excuse. I escaped from the school solely because I couldn't stand it there. That was all. Shion, come this way. Everyone is waiting for you. Mion escorted me and the others followed. We went to the garden, not to the house. As we passed through the huge yard in the woods, I realized where she was taking me. When we were little, we were told never to go near these woods. I had a vague idea of what was in the back of them. I heard there was a hidden entrance to the underground torture room, where they used to punish the enemies of the family. The more hideous rumors I heard about the family, the more credible those rumors seemed. Well, I wasn't completely certain about any of that. I never expected to see the torture room for myself. We came to the concave clearing in the middle of the woods. I saw a metal door at the bottom of it. The door reminded me of a bomb shelter. So this is the underground torture room, huh? I was surprised to hear my own voice. My voice was trembling. It made me realize I was more scared than I thought. Nobody answered my question. The very air felt tense. According to the family rules, one of the twins must be eliminated. Was I finally going to be eliminated? I realized I'd been underestimating my punishment. I hadn't been aware of the real terror until now. I just thought I was. Beyond the steel door, the air had an intimidating smell. This was really happening to me. I shouldn't allow myself to give in to fear. I felt like saying something rude, but my lips were dry, and my fingers were fidgeting. I was escorted through the narrow hallway and down a few set of stairs. There I saw another huge steel door. So this was the place. It was spacious and an utterly odd-looking room. The room had two sections that looked completely different. One side looked like a lounge. I saw several high-ranking members of the family council sitting on the cushions there looking expressionless. The other half was tiled off as a large public bath. That was already puzzling enough. And there were those things. To be honest, they captured my attention from the moment I arrived. I noticed them even before I saw the lines of the tiled space. I just didn't want to accept they existed. I couldn't stand straight. I almost dropped to my knees. But I couldn't. Two young men had already been holding me by the arm since I got here. There were oddly shaped things hanging from the wall. I was just refusing to recognize what they were. I knew exactly what they were called. I see, I understood that. Those eerily shaped objects were torture devices from hell. Damn fool! How dare you return? The hag sitting in front of the lounge, intimidating me in a horrid voice. She had got cursing me for a little while, but she was so incensed I could barely tell what she was saying. I knew what she was trying to say, though. The hag was willing to forgive my escape from the school, but once I revealed my identity to the police, she had to step in. Since I disobeyed the family rule, she as the leader was forced to punish me. Moreover, there was something that bothered her more than anything else. The fact that I covered for Satoshi. The Hojo family had been seen as traitors to the village ever since the dam conflict. Satoshi is still considered one of them. She couldn't accept that I was connected to him. To me, this was a bit unexpected. I escaped from the school the hag had put me in. All the while, I believed that she was the one that I believed that she was upset about. But in fact, she said the thing that she was most uncomfortable with was my connection with Satoshi. I couldn't believe this. Of course, I knew that Satoshi was persecuted for their betrayal, but I didn't think Satoshi was burdened with that responsibility. He has nothing to do with that. I understand that his parents were ostracized, but he shouldn't be— Shut the hell up! The hag interrupted me with a shout, which made me cower in fear. She continued slandering the Hojos and said that Satoshi was a cursed child. I started feeling pissed off. What did he do to deserve this? What was he being blamed for? It was too late when I realized I said that out loud. The hag looked furious. I obviously upset her. I decided to repeat myself to make it very clear how I felt. What are you saying, old hag? Everything you spat is nonsense! Huh? Who the hell do you think you're talking to? Shut the fuck up! Let me finish! I shouted loudly to silence the hag. What the fuck do you know about Satoshi? How could you talk about him like he's the best when you don't know anything about him? I know how sweet he is. You don't like him because he's a Hojo? How fucking stupid is that? Is even your brain archaic or what? You hate the fact that Sonozaki is with a Hojo that much? That's not just stupid, that's beyond stupid! Boy, I never expected to feel like Juliet. My voice became hoarse from shouting. My face was messy with tears. Even so, I didn't feel like putting a stop to my emotional explosion. I was all too aware that I was doing this just to overwhelm my fear. The hag was glaring at me while breathing heavily. I glared back at her as fiercely as I could. Eventually, I realized her sticking point was my relationship with Satoshi. She wasn't only upset that I had a mere connection with him. I see. Looks like Mio mentioned that too. It was as though Mio was wearing a mask. She didn't budge under my penetrating glare. That was what the hag was really unhappy about. The fact that I was in love with Satoshi. don't give a shit about his family background on my own. Yeah, I'll admit that I'm in love with him. I love Hojo Satoshi. I love him so much. Is that so wrong? Do you need a reason to love somebody? I could see the relatives shaking their heads in turmoil. Among them, I saw my mom. She must have been trying to protect me, but even she wouldn't look at me. Instead, she looked silently at the floor. Did you guys in the back hear me? Am I wrong? You know how sweet Satoshi is, and instant you bother to get to know him. How can you put him down without... Mion held out a hand to silence me. Then she slowly walked in my direction. That is enough, Shion. I understand what you wanted to say. Mion put her head close to mine and whispered. Shion, I know how you feel, but you can't go back after coming this far. You have to pay for what you did. What did I do? Why me? That's ridiculous! Shion. Mion's face turned cold again, and she calmly told me. You're probably right, but this is Hinamizawa, and we are Sonozakis, as I'm sure you understand. We're the leaders of the three families, and you are the twin sister of the successor Sonozaki Mio. Yet, I interrupted her. We haven't agreed on that matter ever since I came back. You're full of this reputation shit. Hinamizawa? The Sonozakis? So what? I don't give a fuck about... Listen! Mion interrupted me, just like I did her. How many people did you depend on to start your new life in Okinomiya? Chills shot through my spine. Kasai is at the cell in the back. Why? Why Kasai? I knew why, of course. The moment I got caught, those who helped me were destined to meet the same fate. We were all subject to the punishment of betrayal. Maybe my punishment would be lighter than what they'd be going through. Kasai and Uncle Yoshiro must have been treated much worse than this. Everybody who helped me was falling victim. I know that you're prepared for your punishment, but have you ever thought of the consequences that Kasai and Uncle Yoshiro will have to face? My head rapidly cooled down. My aggression was all used up. I should be able to bear whatever punishment they'd bring on me, but I resented the fact that I'd be putting the people who supported me at risk. Shion, apologize to Granny. If you do, the others won't have to suffer, alright? But Mion, did I really do something wrong? Was any of what I did that bad? The moment Mion learned that I wasn't willing to apologize to her, her expression turned cold again. She turned her back to me and returned to the lounge. I talked back to the hag in a really harsh manner. I told her I didn't do anything wrong, yet I had involved many people who I owed so much, and went without saying this was my responsibility. I was the sole person to blame, and no fault lay with them. Yes, Kasai and Yoshiro were blameless, just as Satoshi was. Then, as if she read my mind, Mion turned around and gave a slight nod. It was possible that something was going to happen to Satoshi, on top of Kasai and Uncle Yoshiro. Wait! Sis! That can't happen, Satoshi. Nobody else should be punished. Please forgive them! What is it, Shion? Tears started rolling down my cheeks. I no longer cared about my pride. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Please forgive me. I should have said what the hag wanted to hear, yet she still looked unsatisfied. Maybe that wasn't too surprising. I had just denounced her so badly in front of the relatives. She wouldn't forgive me so easily. Just then Mion spoke as the successor. So Shion, how do you propose to pay for this? Pay? What do you want me to do? Nothing could be scarier than being told to pay up while standing next to the horrid-looking torture devices. I was completely terrified. I couldn't move from trembling. Mion saw that and whispered to our grandmother. The hag nodded. Mion summoned some young minions and gave them an order. They removed one of the torture devices hanging on the wall, and then set a table in front of me and put the device on top of it. What is this? It's a tool for removing fingernails. Do you know how to use it? No way! I shook as I stared at the tool. It looked like a giant nail clipper. You properly put the part that looks like a beak between your finger and fingernail, pulling them apart if you squeeze the handle. The chills ran up and down my spine when I imagined that. Each fingernail represents one of your responsibilities, Sonozaki Shion. No matter which ones you choose, you must remove 3 fingernails yourself. 3. One for Kasai, one for Uncle Yoshiro, and the last one for Satoshi. It was a fairly reasonable number. Will you really not punish the others? Promise me. Please let them go if I do this. This is a punishment, not a negotiation. If you don't like the procedure, I'll do it! Just give me a second. I'm doing it. I put the device to my little finger while shaking badly. If my fingernails were shorter, it would have been much harder. The metal beak captured my little finger beautifully. The subordinates then stabilized my left hand with a different restraining tool. That seemed reasonable because my finger would slip out if it weren't restrained like that. As the subordinate buckled up the leather straps, I realized this was really happening, and there was no escape. Somewhere in my mind, I'd been thinking that they might forgive me after just a gesture alone. I shouldn't have been so naive. The emotion I'd been holding back appeared in the form of tears and kept rolling down my cheeks. It was like my feelings were being squeezed out until the very last drip. Something even more horrifying followed after this. It was the silence that awaited my next action. So, what should I do now? The subordinates pointed to the handle and told me to either squeeze it or hit it. He recommended the latter would be easier to make it quick. Nobody said anything after that. There was nothing to hear but the sound of my sweat dripping onto the floor. The onlookers were staring at me silently, waiting for me to execute my punishment. Both the hag and Mion. They were also anticipating it. I could refuse, but that would mean I wouldn't be paying up. This punishment exists to offer payment in exchange for the safety of those who help me. If I refused, they would suffer. I started breathing heavily. I knew if I did this, the others would go free. This was, if you thought about it, quite a good deal. If there weren't me, it wouldn't be just 3 fingernails. If it were Kasai, he'd have to sacrifice his little finger or something even worse. I knew that. It was my selfish desire to get away from that school. Why did Kasai have to suffer because of that? I knew that. Why did Uncle Yoshiro have to suffer just because he provided me with a job? I knew that the hag and the other relatives still hated the Hojos. So I didn't know what they'd do to Satoshi if I didn't do this. Would they bring Satoshi here and tell him to do the same? Would they tell him to remove his fingernails in exchange for forgiving me? He'd do it! He'd sacrifice himself with no hesitation in order to save others. My sweat dripped onto the table through my nose. I'd do it, yes. It was only 3 fingernails. It might hurt a lot, but I wouldn't die. The fingernails would grow back. It wouldn't even leave a huge scar. I shouldn't be afraid. The punishment was minimal because it was me. If I refused to do this, the others would be punished much more severely. I couldn't let that happen to Kasai, Uncle Yoshiro, or Satoshi. I was the only one who should be punished, so I just needed to bear the pain. I wasn't just breathing heavily anymore. I was also moaning faintly, ready to scream at any moment. That's right. Make it quick. This wasn't torture, so I didn't have to prolong the moment of pain. I should just do it in one swift blow. That way my pain and fear would be minimized. I raised my right arm. Quickly. The pain would be lessened if I did it in one stroke. It would be much more painful if I messed it up. I held my breath. I felt as if my body was frozen. I was choking. The chills crept up my spine. Don't be afraid, Chio. Fingernails are just a tiny fraction of the whole body. Just 1 square centimeter. I could do this. I could bear it. Ah! I smacked my right hand to the table of the device. I sensed the noise through my body and through my ears. At the same time, I felt a pain that I never experienced before. A moment later, the pain pulsated with my heartbeat. I clenched my teeth. I felt like my teeth were cracking. I tightly shut my eyes until my eyeballs got squeezed up. The pain wouldn't fade. Rather, it swelled with my blood pressure as I felt through what was like floating like a balloon. Timidly, I opened my eyes. I found that my little finger wasn't really drenched in blood. It was bleeding, but not that much. Certainly not enough to explain how much it hurt. My fingernail was open just like a hood of a car. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was overwhelming. It occurred to me that I'd only done 1 out of the 3. Did I have to repeat this 2 more times? Did I have to remove the nails from my ring finger and middle finger as well? I looked at the hag and Mio begging for mercy. They were just silently staring at me, as if the show had only just begun. I had no hint of mercy in their eyes. They wouldn't be changing their minds since they said 3. It had to be 3. They wouldn't forgive me until I removed 2 more fingernails. Mio, look! Isn't this enough? It really hurts, you know that? You see that in my eyes, don't you? It really hurts. Mio answered, still wearing a cold look. You can't keep going, Chio. She didn't mean that it was sufficient, or she meant that others would have to take the remaining punishment if I didn't. I knew that. I really did know. I'll do it! This is easy! You sadist! This doesn't scare me. This doesn't hurt! I set it on my ring finger and smacked it with no hesitation. Instead of making it quick, maybe I was just rushing out of fear. I messed up. The torture tool had clipped just the tip of my fingernail. The pain, however, was equal, and I couldn't believe I only chipped it. Did I have to do it again? Did I have to continue removing the nail from my ring finger? How much pain again? Again? Chio? No! I don't want to do it! I couldn't bear it anymore. I started crying shamelessly. I can't take it anymore! It's too painful! Forgive me, please! I'm sorry, I apologize! I'm sorry! They didn't seem to hear my voice. It felt as though there was an invisible barrier between us. They showed no mercy. They were just here to witness the ritual. So rather than sympathetic, they looked amazed by my screw-up. Mio walked up to me and whispered to my crying face, Chio, there's just a bit more to go. Hang in there. No! I can't do this. It really hurts. It really does. Uh-oh. You shook your head and signaled to subordinates. They came from behind me. They covered my head with something like a knit cap. It was blindfold. One of them pinned me in a Nelson hold, restricting my movement. No! Stop it! No! I couldn't overpower the guy behind me, and I felt restrained on my left hand. The other guy was doing something with a torture tool. He put the metal beak between my ring finger and its fingernail. No! Mom, help me! Mom! Ah! Even that left hand was pressed down by the rough palms until it hurt, robbing it of the freedom even to tremble. They had no hesitation. It was made very clear to me how merciless people could be. Robbed of my vision, all I could do was clench my teeth against the pain assailing me. If there was anything I was thankful for, it was that he was well practiced and had ripped off both of my fingernails cleanly. Pain and screaming might have induced narcotic chemicals in the brain. While screaming, I started to lose consciousness. Just so you know, I had to re-record all this audio because I didn't do it during the stream apparently. So if it's not as good as before, well, you know why. Okay? I woke up. My memories were missing and I couldn't remember how I got back to my room. I held my head with both hands. My left hand was bandaged. The fingers that had their nails removed had swollen like hot dogs. I paid with those 3 fingernails for what I did. The hag had said something after the punishment, but I didn't remember any of it. I was just taken to a hospital in Okinomiya. The car shook on the way, adding extra pain on top of what I already felt. Somebody gave me aspirin. They worked just like they said on TV, but they didn't last more than 10 minutes. I swallowed the pills without water while I was spacing out in the waiting lounge. Kasai showed up. He probably came to check if I was alright. I obviously wasn't. He must have understood that from my left bandaged arm dangling from my shoulder. Kasai, on the other hand, looked just fine, at least on the outside. I was relieved that my sacrifice had meant something. Kasai didn't say anything. I couldn't tell if he wanted to tell me something or not, because he looked so emotionless. Kasai. Yes. He paused shortly before answering. I could tell he was upset. I didn't regret revealing my true identity in order to protect Satoshi, but I hadn't wanted to hear Kasai or Uncle Yoshiro to be hurt. I had been contradicting myself. Do you know how Uncle Yoshiro is doing? No. I'm sure he's alright, because he's strong. Even so, you should apologize to him. Okay. I wanted to ask him about Satoshi, too. I wondered if he was captured or harassed by the Sonozaki family because of me. But I was hesitant to ask Kasai. After all, I've chosen Satoshi over them. Was Satoshi alright? I hope he wouldn't get caught or incarcerated somewhere. I paid the hospital bill and Kasai gave me a ride home. I finally realized that somebody was knocking on my door. Shio, it's not healthy to sleep so much. It was Kasai. He put some side dishes on the table and we started nibbling at them. How do you feel? Depressed. Have you been resting? Have you been eating? I've been eating the stuff left in the fridge. Otherwise, I'd either been sleeping or staring at the ceiling. It had been 3 days. I'd just been lying down since then. I woke up every now and then in my shallow sleep and I didn't feel like getting up or thinking. I felt like I'd just been floating the whole time. My appetite was gone, but it came back with the smell of the food Kasai brought. I wasn't able to think of anything to talk to Kasai about, so I just ate silently. I got a call. Oops, no, this is Kasai. I got a call from Mion yesterday. She was saying she called you a few times, but never got through. The moment I heard Mion's name, I felt my wounds throb. But I didn't stop Kasai, who continued. Because you paid up, the family decided to close the matter. You will officially withdraw from St. Lucia's and transfer to a school in Okinomiya. They're finally acknowledging my right to make my own decisions, huh? Indeed. They said you could live as yourself now under a few conditions. You will stay away from Hinamizawa. You won't pretend to be Sonozaki Mio. You won't show up in public places, and so on. This means, in exchange for acknowledging me, they don't want me to hang around. That's correct. Of course, it's only temporary, until things cool down. There's no set duration, but I think you should stay inconspicuous, at least until the end of the year. It'd be good enough just to live in Okinomiya quietly, the way it was before. Kasai put on a sad smile. I'll smile back at him likewise. Before the conversation ended, I should ask him what I wanted to know. How's Satoshi doing? I wish that Kasai would assure me of his safety right away, but he didn't answer like that. Kasai, is he alright? Shion. Kasai put his chopsticks down. The family wants you to forget about him. What? Shion. I don't want to get in an argument with you, so I will not get into the details. I'm only relaying to you what the family wants. What are you talking about? What details, Kasai? Kasai pretended as though he didn't hear me and started eating again. I never see him get so stubborn like this. The Sonozaki family had It was time for the library to close and I had to leave. I brought some food on the way home. I shut my door and locked it right away, and then I heard the door of the neighboring apartment open. Kasai lived next door. Nobody else lived on this floor of this nearly empty apartment building anyway. I clearly heard the door open and close. Kasai must have noticed I came home and was coming over because he wanted to talk to me. I unlocked the door and shouted to him. "Is that you, Kasai? I'll leave the door unlocked for you." "I'm not Kasai, Shion." That voice, I twitched. "Can I come in?" "Sure, sis." The door slowly opened. My alter ego, Sonozaki Mion, appeared. She was holding a box of cake, while smiling timidly. "Are you going to keep standing there until I escort you? Come in." Sorry, this room doesn't look very cute. It looks comfortable. Sis looked a bit tense when entering my room. It was her first time here. Okay, so, hold on. Before we continue, I don't like being stared at when I'm reading. Or in a way that I can perceive it directly. So, go over here. Just go over here, okay? Go over there, okay? You're not allowed to watch me. In a sense that I will see you watching me. That makes me intensely nervous, so. Alright. How's life? My new school is as boring as I thought it would be. I usually go, but I skip classes when I don't feel up to it. I couldn't do that when I was going to St. Lucia's. So, St. Lucia is really tough, huh? You should go there sometime. Sorry, I bought cake. Let's eat. Mio opened the box and I saw 2 cheesecakes there. We have the same taste in food, so we don't have to fight if we get to the same thing. I chatted with her over the cheesecake. I talked to her about school and whatnot. If you need furniture, tell me. I might be able to get some for you. If I finally got used to this room, but I might move out soon, so furniture won't be necessary. Thanks, though. Dad wants me to come back home. I don't want to live with him, but he sounds desperate. He'd be pleased if you came home. He looked lonely while you were gone. You can only say that because you don't have to live with him. Come to think of it, this is the first time I talked to Sensu, so I was allowed to live as Sonozaki Shion. She didn't look like how she was at the Sonozaki house that day. The successor of the Sonozaki family and my twin sister are 2 different people. The demon lives inside the leader of the Sonozakis. Our bodies are exactly the same, except for the tattoo of the demon on her back. Mion's destiny as the successor was set in stone when she got the tattoo. It's pretty simple. The Mion from that night was different from the Mion before me. When I was forced to tear off my fingernails, I momentarily despised her. But if I were the next leader of the family, I'd have done the same. Shion, how are your fingernails? The wounds have closed. I don't bandage them anymore because it looks too conspicuous, but my nails still look ugly, so I don't really like showing them to people. I sneered at her, displaying my incomplete fingernails. Mion grew quiet and looked down. You don't have to apologize. You did what you had to do. You just played the role of the successor. I'm not holding any grudges. I'm sorry. Okay, apology accepted. But if you apologize one more time, that'll be canceled. I won't forgive you for the rest of my life. Huh? What do you mean? Once you start apologizing, you never stop. So I'm cutting you off. Will you really forgive me? About Satoshi as well? My heart ached when she mentioned his name. It felt just like the ache of an old wound. I figured you loved him. No wonder I shouted it out in front of all of you. I'm not embarrassed anymore. Granny truly believes that you've atoned. She thinks that you've done all you need to do, so the matter is finished. That's good. My pain won't go to waste then. I wonder where Satoshi disappeared to, though. I started choking when I heard her say that. I just said it to her myself. I said I'd forgiven her completely, but that promise instantly evaporated. Just because of what she said, I felt like I turned into a completely different person. What did you just say, Mion? Did you just say I wonder where Satoshi disappeared off to? Who else would know other than you and your folks? What did you say? Where did he go? I felt my eyeballs reddening in anger. I felt as though they were about to pop. I choked on a burning sensation in my throat. Mion's expression rapidly changed. It looked like a devil. She noticed the devil's mask on my face. We were one and the same. We could understand each other's thoughts without voicing them. So showing our expressions was like unveiling everything in our hearts to the other. Sorry. Even though I told her not to apologize anymore, Mion apologized. I felt like strangling her. I was going to make her confess where she hid Satoshi. If she told me she threw him to the Onigashima swamp, I strangled her to death right then and there. I really don't know what happened to Satoshi. That's a lie. It's true. Granny doesn't know anything either. Please believe me. That's a lie. Are you saying Oyashiro's curse demoned him away? There can't be a curse. There can't be. Words kept coming out of my mouth like I was chanting a spell. I wasn't speaking by my own will anymore. It was like a demon who was controlling me. The demon that had been sleeping deep inside me woke up and was speaking through my mouth. My hands, the demon's hands, grabbed Mion by the neck. You guys demon Satoshi away! You and the Sonozaki family! Give it back to me! Give it back! My hand slowly but surely squeezed Mion's neck. Mion put her hands onto mine. I looked at her fingers. 3 of the fingernails on her left hand looked as ugly as mine. Mion? What is this? Tears rolled down her cheeks. She didn't have to answer. She had the same scars as I did. She atoned as well. The way those wounds were healing looked the same as mine. So did she get these wounds around the same time I did? It was unfair that you only had to go through that. I felt so bad. Mion started sobbing. I stood there, petrified, still wringing Mion's neck. Since I found out you love Satoshi, I really wanted you to be happy. Because it was always only you who had to suffer, even though we're twins. It didn't come as a surprise to me that Mion might have also loved Satoshi as I did. We always liked the same stuff, even the same people. She was stupid enough to feel obligated towards someone like me. I told Granny to leave you and Satoshi alone. I shouted at her. Then she said she'd let you be if you atoned with sincerity. And you did, so you were supposed to live happily with him. But Satoshi has gone away. It's terrible. Mion isn't smart enough to shed crocodile tears. Those tears were real. Her tears dissolved my demon's anger like how the sun melts ice. Believe me, Shio, I really don't know why Satoshi disappeared. Neither Granny nor the Sonozaki family have anything to do with it. Granny forgave you, so she would never do anything to him. Mion, I'm so sorry. Did I hurt you? I took my hands off her neck and held her instead. I'm not hurt. You've been hurt a lot more than me, haven't you? I shouted at the demon in my mind. I believed in Mion. I had convinced it was the Sonozaki family that made Satoshi disappear, but Mion denied it, while shedding tears. Between her and me, her tears are more convincing than any words, so I'd believe in her. It absolutely wasn't the Sonozaki family that made him disappear. So, do you really think that Satoshi disappeared because of Oyashiro's curse? I don't believe in curses! And Mion didn't do it! If it wasn't the curse of the Sonozaki family who demoned him away. I don't know! I just know it's not Mion! It's not the Sonozaki family because Mion says so! That's stupid, Shio. Are you going to ignore Satoshi's voice? I know! You don't have to remind me, demon. I can hear his voice. I know he's mumbling with an ambivalent expression like he always used to, even though he knows help won't come. I'll help him no matter what. I'll save him if he's alive. I'll avenge him if he's dead, but Mion didn't do it! You just want to take it out on somebody. It doesn't matter who. But I'm Shio, not a demon. You're only a part of me. Don't try to take control. Fuck off! Don't ever show up again! The demon faded away. My body went limp and I fell to the floor while holding Mion. Shion, are you alright? I'm alright now, Mion. Why are we two different individuals? Why can't we just be one? Stop it. We've asked ourselves that so many times, but there's no answer. I'm Shion and you're Mion. That's just how it is. I don't care if I'm Shion or Mion. I just want to be one and equal with you. There's nothing we can do. You have the demon on your back. You're destined to become the successor, and we can't change that. I don't want that. I don't need a demon. I don't want it. I'm not a demon. I'm not. I want to be human like you. Mion is a demon, and Shion is a human. Even though we're twins, there's a difference between us. Was it impossible for humans to live with demons after all? It should be possible, because they did it before. That's the legend of Hinamizawa. Humans and demons lived in harmony together, as Oyashiro watched over them. Mion, Shion, Satoshi, demons, humans, Oyashiro's curse, the series of mysterious deaths, Satoshi's disappearance. We fell asleep while holding each other, while holding everything. God damn it. Even when Shion later on plays as Mion, you can tell that it affected Mion. Okay, so we're just gonna go through these tips and stuff. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I don't feel like reading these because a lot of these are like, so a lot. Basically, she kept checking in with Mio or like Oishi, but they're not coming up with any leads, and it's just there's just nothing that they can really do. And now people are saying Satoshi transferred schools, and she really doesn't like that. And okay, there is one tip I'm gonna read. Okay. During the upheaval surrounding Oishiro's curse in 1982, I was pulled away and that by new leads on Satoshi's disappearance. Every time I found information that looked promising, I kept changing my theories, but that also became an incredible burden on me. It wore me down plenty on its own. The fatigue was harsh, but it was also provided a very kind acceptance. Bit by bit, it soothed away the anger, sadness, and doubt that wore me down. I'll never forget Satoshi. I'll never try to forget him and move on. I constantly repeated those words to myself in my head. I repeated them to keep my memories of Satoshi from fading too, over and over. For the sake of my fond memories of Satoshi, together with my fear and my sadness. I repeat them forever and ever. Okay, well, I'll stop right